All right, it's 2 minutes past one, so let's start. Before we actually start with the webinar, please, remember as always that we record this session, and this session will be posted on YouTube and shared with everybody who is subscribed to our release notes. So if you're unable to attend in the future, then you can always catch it in our on our YouTube channel. Well, again, thank you everybody for joining here at our release webinar for the January 21 release. For everybody who doesn't know me, my name is Stefan. I'm responsible for product at FinDock, and with me today is Lawrence, who is our technical business analyst, and together we are very proud and looking forward to present to you the highlights of the new FinDock release, and also give you some insights into what we are building and why we're building, etc., etc. But before we start with the content of this release, we first want to thank you for your time spent last year and implementing or working with FinDock. Last year we have been granted by Salesforce. FinDock has won the ISV Partner of the Year awards in the nonprofit EMEA category, and we couldn't have done that without you, obviously. So thank you for your support, your feedback, and your working with us. And we'd hope to, to build amazing product again next year or this year to make sure we win it again in 12 months. From a housekeeping perspective, the production release will hit your production environments Sunday next week, the 17th of January. So Monday morning, you will be working on the newest version. Everything that is presented here now is already in your sandbox environment, in our documentation and our detailed release notes. So you have access to it and you can play with it in your sandbox environment already. There's 3 main parts that we want to highlight from this release, next to all the enhancements and bug fixes that we made. And the first one is our enhanced online payment experience is GA. And that means that our new API, including the new way of handling for us incoming real-time notifications via the web hub, after 7 months of being in pilot and beta, is considered GA now. And Lawrence will take us in more detail later on what that means. Secondly, our GoCardless integration with FinDock moved from pilot, from a selected group of customers, to open beta, and everybody now can use it. And thirdly, we have improved the way we work with Coda, which is a specific Belgian bank statement file format. But we did it in a way that also opens up avenues in the future for other bank statement formats. So we're really happy to show and tell you about that one as well. As you know, we have currently 3 features in pilot or beta phase, or 2 now actually: the enhanced online payment experience, FinDock giving pages, and the GoCardless for FinDock integration. And to keep everybody in the loop, we'd like to give you, with Safe Harbor, obviously, insight into what our internal planning is on when to release these features to the latest maturity stages. With saying the January release, with this release, we want to move, or we are moving, the new API and the web hub to generally availability. So it's fully supported, fully working product that we're really proud of. Then in the release hereafter, we want to move FinDock giving pages to GA. And we are working very hard on that as we speak. And then the release after, so in 2 months, we hope to announce our GoCardless FinDock integration to generally availability status. If you have questions around what does this mean for my project and do you have advice about that, obviously feel free to reach out to our support, who are able to help, advise, and guide you to make the right decisions here. With that out of the way, Lawrence, please take it away.
Thank you, Stefan. So let's talk a bit about what bringing enhanced online experience with API v2 to GA means. In the last few weeks and months, we've worked with partners and customers to well, refine our solutions, and based on your and others' feedback, we have implemented several smaller fixes. Those are in blue. If you'd like to find out what we're doing there, please check the release notes or the API reference for details. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask questions in the Q&A or reach out after this webinar. There's 3 things I'd like to highlight, and the first of, and discuss in more detail, and the first of that is webhook notifications. So webhook notifications are notifications that we send from Salesforce to any URL that you might enter, to give you updates on what happened in Salesforce with your API call, so your request to start a payment. Previously, and in V1, we only did this when the status of an installment that was created to the API changed, but now we've added a lot more events and notifications, so you can follow the entire journey of your API call in Salesforce, in any system that you'd like. So basically, we tell you when a payment intent, as we call it, has been created in Salesforce, which is an inbound report based on your API call. And once that's processed or filled, we tell you about it. And if there was a one-time payment involved in this request, we send you a notification when it is created, and when the status changed like before. Now, in these notifications, you will find more detailed information. On the right-hand side, you see the detailed information for the payment intent, which contains all the objects that were created asynchronously and their IDs. So you can query Salesforce or our API for more details about the contact or the installment or the payment intent itself. The second thing we did is some of our customers and partners gave the feedback that the response we gave to a get on a payment intent, so when you directly query our API based on an ID that you have to see what happens with your API call, was not consistent with the how the request looked and the fields in there and the objects in there, so that you see on the left. So we made that more consistent, to look exactly the same as the notifications. That does mean that some of the detailed information about one-time installments is now no longer retrieved directly, but we do give you an ID, and we have opened a get installment endpoint where with an installment ID from Salesforce, you can query detailed data like the status of the payment, and the individual cash movements or the payments below that. So you get very detailed data about what happened there and what the status is and which payment methods are used, and you can use that in your own system. Part of making the enhanced online experience GA was making sure all our packages work with API v2. On the left-hand side, you can see that that has been done now for almost all of our packages, adding, amongst others, WorldPay this release. And the only one left, checkout.com, we will make compatible, but also improve up until the latest checkout API standards with the next release. And once that's done, basically all packages are compatible, and our main work around the new payment experience is done.
Thanks, Lawrence. Exciting. I think this slide we have shown to you earlier at the end of the summer around the launch of FinDock Giving Pages, where we now as FinDock offer FinDock Giving Pages and our payment API, and we outlined to you when to use which integration type. Where we also said, you know, there's an integration pattern by using a FinDock partner to integrate, for example, your websites or your online experiences with FinDock. Now, there is obviously when you're really bespoke and you have your own custom, you're really specialized about your use cases, then you can use the FinDock payment API to build on top of that. But typically that's relatively expensive in development cost, but in return you get fine-grained detailed control on your implemented functionality. On the other end of the spectrum, with FinDock giving pages, we do a very basic implementation of a donation form, where which can be helpful for some organizations, but for many also will fall short. And right there in the sweet spot, we said there's the partner integrations. On top of FinDock, there's multiple partners, actually quite many to be honest, that have built productized integrations on top of the FinDock payment API. Now, in the whole road from a payment API v1 to v2, we have worked, especially with 3 partners, very hard, and we've received very honest and hard feedback from them, and they have helped shape and mold the API to where we are now, and we couldn't have done that without them. So I'd like to highlight those partners in random order to you and show them what they offer on top of FinDock and why that could be useful for you or for your customers when you're an integration partner. The first one I'd like to highlight, one back please, thank you, is CampaignSuite by GoPublic. So GoPublic is a digital agency for not-for-profits, and they build communication landscapes with over 25 persons for years already. They have experience in the fundraising industry, in strategy, design, development, and marketing. With their product CampaignSuite and the integration with FinDock, you get all the FinDock payment methods directly in your web form. You get access, you can add in their configuration your own custom fields and your own custom objects, and they will populate those as well. And they combine WordPress, Gravity Forms, FinDock, and Salesforce with your marketing automation. A feature that is really cool with them is they offer one-click payments who autofill the form based on Salesforce, on your Salesforce data. Now, together we have over 20 live customers. And in the next slide, automatically a video will play outlining a journey of one of those customers, where a donor fills in the CampaignSuite form, fills in their information, and then when they donate, they hit the FinDock payment API. They pay via the processor that is configured in FinDock, and this triggers a marketing journey. Thanks. The second partner I'd like to highlight is Sidekick IT. Sidekick IT is also FinDock API v2 ready. So when you use them, they have the ability to offer both integrations, but now also with the newest and latest, greatest API. And they are an IT specialist shop. They are really good at making tailor-made IT solutions for your organization. And they use PHP, Angular, React, WordPress, and Salesforce to do that. They have built a WordPress plugin. So when your website is in WordPress, they are very relevant to you. And that plugin works for both Elementor and Gravity Forms, which are popular form elements in the WordPress community. And they come integrated out of the box with the FinDock payment API. So if you want to integrate your WordPress website with FinDock, they can help. Now, third, but last but definitely not least, I'd like to introduce you to Formsuite by Growing Minds, who help you maximize your online conversions with Formsuite. And they do this by having an add-on to your Salesforce setup that combines both Salesforce and Marketing Cloud together and ties it into smooth customer journeys and boost your online conversions. They offer this on a scalable cloud-based solution, and you can create and manage responsive web forms in an easy way. You can add those web forms as part of your Salesforce Marketing Cloud customer journeys, and then have them delivered with pre-filled, personalized content at your donors. And obviously, they come with a seamless integration with Salesforce CRM, FinDock, and then the Marketing Cloud. They do this for a lot of customers, 30+ customers joined together, and they are optimized for a wide range of devices. As you can see here in the graph, they are able to help you control the whole customer journey from beginning to end, moving from Salesforce to Marketing Cloud to the online engagement piece and back. One of our joint customers, Greenpeace Netherlands, has a quote saying, "We have been using Formsuite to create and manage our campaigns since August 2020, so almost half a year. Since then, we have seen a steep rise in our online conversions." Now, obviously, if you're interested in working with Formsuite by Growing Minds or any of the other partners, feel free to let us know, and we're happy to bring you in contact. With that being said, Lawrence, GoCardless.
So our next topic is indeed GoCardless, which was in pilot and will now move to beta. What we've built is an integration with GoCardless, and GoCardless is a payment service provider that helps you do direct debits, and in our case specifically box direct debits from beginning to end. So from acquiring the mandate to collecting direct debits, and in the end handling all the different reports that come from the box network to update all the statuses and the mandates and things like that. What we've built is that you can connect your account from Salesforce to GoCardless in just a few clicks. You can onboard customers online or from Salesforce itself through an agent component. Online we'll go through the hosted payment page. GoCardless will then handle the activation of the mandate and collection of the payments. And we'll also send all the required notifications that the box regulations require to make your entire payment flow valid. But rather than going into detail like this, I will just show you what we've built to give you a bit more insight. So let's first connect. I'd like to show you this because this is a new integration pattern for us, and we think it's much smoother and better than what we've done before. So basically, from our setup, if you want to connect to a GoCardless account, you go to GoCardless for FinDock, and you press the Connect with GoCardless button, which will open a connection flow. This is a test flow, but all you have to do is log in with your GoCardless account, agree to the merchant agreement, and then press Connect Account. And once this is completed, you will be redirected to the setup, and we're done. That's it. That's all we need at this point to set up GoCardless. You can activate box direct debit as a payment method, of course, but from a connection perspective, this is all we need. Now, to show you then what we can do, I will use a giving page just to demo this to you. Let's do a monthly direct debit. And we enter our personal details. That's me. We select the box direct debit, of course. And then when we click donate, we are redirected to a hosted payment page of GoCardless, which will make sure that all the direct debit requirements, like showing the logo, the right terms and agreements, and the right checks and balances that are required to be able to set up a correct DDI are fulfilled. As you can see, let's just choose a random billing address. It's fairly easy to use. They do lots of checks already to check if the sort code is correct. And once you click direct debit, you will get a confirmation page. You can click confirm, and now we're done. So basically now we've set up a recurring direct debit in Salesforce through GoCardless. And let's see if we can find it. In Salesforce, I will show you briefly what data is created. As you can see, we've created a new recurring payment for 120 years, so that's 10 a month. And attached to this recurring payment, we will find a mandate, which is the actual DDI that we just set up, and a payment profile that represents the bank account details in GoCardless. Now GoCardless will make sure that this mandate will move from inactive and pending registration to active. Once this has been activated, you can start collecting this recurring payment through a regular payment schedule. Anything that happens around this recurring payment and the payment that was created to the payment schedule will be sent to Salesforce and FinDock to a notification by GoCardless, and we will then update the status, whether the payment was successful, whether something happened with the mandate, maybe it was rejected. All of that will be updated, and we will also update the status reason. So that's one way to get your DDI set up and your mandates. But the second way is from Salesforce itself. So let's say a potential donor gives you a call, or you collect mandates on paper. You can manually create and set up everything you need to collect this payment through GoCardless from Salesforce itself. So if you start from a contact, we have this quick direct debit component on the right. You can manually type in the sort code and the account number. I will be using the same one. You can choose recurring or one time. Let's do a one time this time. You can set an amount. You can change the description that will end up on the bank account of the customer, and you can submit. And basically exactly the same thing will happen as happened when we created this from online. FinDock will go to GoCardless, set everything up. Oh, and I think I made a mistake by setting up the target. So we also do some checks. But basically, we create a direct debit with an installment or recurring payment and a mandate from here. Basically, that's what I would like to show you. And I think if you have any questions, you can let us know. Because this is still in a beta phase, we are very eager to see what you think of it and what your feedback is, so we can improve upon this to make this GA.
Thanks, Lawrence. This Lightning component, right, also that you shared, we hope to find the time in the coming year, for example, to make, to create beautiful Lightning components for multiple payment methods, where we can give you the ability to put that on the right layouts and to make working with FinDock as easy as possible. All right, the third and last highlight of this release we'd like to go over is our new Coda solution. And to do that, we first have to start with guided matching. As you know, we have introduced guided matching as a tool that helps you create your automatic reconciliation and booking rules in Salesforce to automatically match data, incoming data from, for example, from your bank statements into Salesforce. Now, over time, we've started using guided matching for way more things than that. And in my mind, and that's why I included this screenshot, which Lawrence felt was horrible, but I still like it, is I think about guided matching as, it gives us a lot of benefits, and I think about it as connects. So we have built basic components, rules we call them in guided matching, and we stitch them together to do our own processing. So we have built a machine we call FinDock, obviously, but you can see how it works because we have built it out of these connects elements. And now with guided matching, we also gave you the ability to add your own bespoke logic to that, right? So you can use the same tools that we use, model your business logic, and click that on top and attach that to the FinDock vehicle. So we are continually investing in guided matching to make it as robust, as transparent, and as easy to work with as we possibly can imagine. And any feedback on this from you is welcome, obviously. Now, what did we do in this release to highlight to you is we have made several quality of life improvements. For example, when you in Salesforce run a query and it returns more than 50,000 results, the Salesforce transaction dies. So we make sure you cannot hit that limit anymore when you make bad config and guided matching. We've introduced a setting for you where you can recalculate formula fields after you've executed the rule. So you can put your business logic in formula fields instead of in guided matching rule entry criteria. And for example, with the create rule, we now have an advanced setting where you can do an upsert instead of a create. Meaning that when you want to create, for example, a contact, but you want to create the contact multiple times due to parallel processing, with the upsert rule, you have the ability to make sure you only create one contact instead of, for example, two contacts who are the same. Now, there's one specific one I'd like to highlight a bit more, and that's the FinDock. We have added a new rule type as well. It's a very specific rule type. It's an extraction rule type that helps you to extract data from fixed with formatted data. So we've already have one extraction rule type for regular expressions, right? So when raw data is coming in, we store that in FinDock or in the raw XML field. And then with regex, you were able to parse data out of there. Now we added to this a new one, say, well, if that data is fixed with formatted, meaning you know character 10 to 18 is this type of information, 19 to 24 the following, then regular expressions is quite complicated. So we've built this fixed with formatted rule type where you can say, well, if a line starts with, for example, 32, then I want to take position 11 to 45. And it will parse that out and store that in that Salesforce field. Now, in the future, we hope to add more of these extract rule types, not only regular expression and fixed with, but for example, also JSON, XML, and CSV. The reason why we did this is fixed with now is because we applied this to our Coda bank statement file. So Coda is a fixed with Belgium bank statement format, which our Belgian customers use to import their transactions into FinDock reported by the bank. Now, what we did with this new way of working is you can still upload your Coda file to the processing hub. It will recognize it. It will create transaction set with transactions. But in the past, the whole extraction of data from Coda, or now already, for example, for Kant, that was in the processing hub. And we moved that away out of the processing hub and brought that to guided matching. So you can follow, as you can see on this screenshot here, you can exactly see which data we take out of the Coda file and why. You can not only see it, you can also extend it, right? So if there's, for example, an attribute that you want out of that Coda transaction, but that we don't provide out-of-the-box parsing for, you can add a specific guided matching rule to take that fixed with guided matching rule to take that data out of that transaction, store it on the transaction, and then use it later in your business logic. Now we come out of the box with a Coda parser via guided matching rules. And we also, obviously, with all the matching that you're used to in the processing hub, but now we're not doing it in the processing hub, but we're doing it in Salesforce. And obviously that's, we are really happy with Coda, but that's also the exciting part, right? But that gives us the ability not only do it for Coda now, but also later maybe for Kant, MT940, and other bank statement formats that we support. If you're interested, or if you're a partner who operates in the Belgian market, or you work with Belgian customers, we have created a blog post outlining what is Coda, how does it work, and how does it work together with FinDock. So if you're interested in that, please find the blog on our website, and obviously feel free to share that with relevant people. Last but not least is obviously we make also a lot of bug fixes or smaller enhancements, and we outline all of them in our release notes, but we'd like to focus on a few of them. So we we group them by Salesforce package, right? So that you know when you want to think about regression testing, several elements, the changes, for example, under the SEPA for FinDock category only apply to the SEPA package. Now, please read them in the release notes carefully for yourself if there are specific ones, but the orange ones I'd like to highlight a bit. So in our core package, so the main FinDock package, we added now the ability in our installer, so when you do an installation of FinDock, to also include the custom tab for inbound reports and installments. Because every customer wants to do that and did that. And that's why we cannot include it anymore in FinDock, because if we include that in FinDock, then we are not able to push anymore to our current customers. But we do want to include it. So now we have done this via our installer in a separate package that's automatically installed. Secondly, the scheduled Apex job cleanup. So for people who are working with FinDock for a long time already may remember that there was a time that everything worked in a 3-minute cycle, right? So you started the payment schedule and then every 3 minutes we would operate everything that was on the queue. That was done by by schedulable Apex. And those scheduled Apex jobs were still running in the background, although they were barely used anymore. And we have done our house cleaning and we have deprecated all of those batches and the automatic scheduling of those batches, because we now fully rely on either queuable Apex or via the processing hub in our current way of queuing. So from now on, when you make a new installation of FinDock, you don't have to schedule any Apex for that anymore. It just works. On the processing hub side, there's also 2 changes I'd like to highlight. So the first one is obviously Processing Hub is an app that runs on an Heroku stack, and Heroku provides Linux stacks for us to operate on. And we have upgraded from stack 16 to stack 20. Now we have been running and testing and on that already for quite a while, but please be aware that all your Processing Hub operations are moved to Heroku, have been moved to Heroku stack 20, which is a new Linux version and distribution. So just so you're aware. The last, but definitely not least, is we have added automatic retry on locked row errors. So when in the Processing Hub manager, you bring data back from the Processing Hub to Salesforce, it could be that in the case of an error in the bulk API, we would show you the error, right, and you can adjust, if need be, you could adjust data or configuration and then retry. Now for locked row errors, sometimes there is row locking collision, or there's collision and different records need the same record, underlying record. And we have had lots of cases where customers said to us, I only need to retry once and it works. So we have built that when we make, via the Processing Hub, we bring data back to Salesforce, and there's a row locking issue, we retry, I think up to 3 times with a debounce loop. So first a few seconds, then a bit more, then a bit more. For full details, please visit our release notes, but there is some automatic retry now for row locking issues in the row locking errors in the Processing Hub. Then for a full overview of all the bugs and enhancements, we also made several additions to our 6 and WorldPay package. Especially I also saw you, Steve, there for WorldPay for NCT. You can say that now the reject notification we handle with more grace, and this will be working. As said, all our release notes are quite detailed, and there's quite many. So I understand it's much for you, but if you have a specific thing that you say, I want to know more of that, please visit our release notes on our docs that contain all the details. If you like what we are doing, and if you use us well, we are an AppExchange app, right? And although we don't use our AppExchange listing a lot, AppExchange reviews are really important to us. So if you like what we are doing and you want to to show that in a way, then we will be very grateful if you can find a couple of minutes to drop 2 lines and a star rating on our App Exchange listing to boost our credibility for other potential customers that are thinking about working with FinDock. That being said, thank you for joining the webinar. This was what we felt we wanted to share around the release and what we did. We will stick around obviously for questions and questions asked in the Q&A or in the chat. But enjoy your weekend. Thank you for joining the webinar, and hope to see you next time.